じゃねえのか。自分で選んだはずの選択が気に食わなかったら世界まで否定するのかよ。ダメだ。それじゃ何も進まねえ。何も変わらねえ。何も救えね
お前さん、まさか。
もう誰一人夢は叶えさせねえ。夢を、全ての資格者の夢を俺が食い殺す。たとえそれが神の夢であってもだ。覚えておけ、傍観者。俺は全てを、全世界の敵、死神ラグナ・ザ・ブラッドエッジだ。
Ragna! Ragna the Bloodedge is a straightforward yet aggressive rushdown character who excels at wearing down his opponents with his huge damage output and ability to make up for lost ground with his character mechanic. With great mobility, an abundance of disjoints, and a versatile arsenal of special moves, Ragna is capable of excelling in multiple ranges thanks to his strong mid-range pokes and solid up-close pressure. And thanks to his unique fighting game traits, even the smallest of hits can turn into a landslide of damage if his player keeps the momentum of the fight in their favor. While that's the case, however, Ragna does have a few weaknesses that will keep his great stats in check, and chief amongst them is a weakness that Ragna also ends up sharing in his home franchise: his straightforward design. While he's a fantastic character in the hands of a player with strong fundamentals, Ragna's ability to close the gap is notably worse than most other rushdown characters in the game. Less in the sense that he can't get close, and more for the fact that his approach options are limited and fairly predictable. As a result, Ragna's neutral ends up being a fairly stale affair for his player, with this forcing them to rely on the same amount of buttons to check and create pressure. On top of this, Ragna ends up sporing a lower weight value than his fellow fighting game characters, making him much easier to KO while also making his poor disadvantage state a far more life-threatening issue than his contemporaries. As a Ragna player, it will be your job to mix up your close and mid-range pressure to keep your game plan as unpredictable as possible and make opening up your opponent a much easier affair. And once you find your way in, make sure you take advantage of your powerful combos to rack up damage quickly and increase your survivability. Just make sure you don't overdo it, as Ragna can't afford to take much punishment before he's down for the count. Keep a level head, read your opponent's movements, and punish them for their bad habits. And while he might hail from a game that's considered one of the hardest fighting games to master, Ragna sets himself apart as a beginner-friendly character who can run a simple game plan and still get great results. Ragna stands as a large humanoid character, with his height coming up to characters like Kazuya and Captain Falcon. An SS-class rebel known as the Grim Reaper, Ragna the Bloodedge is the main protagonist of the Blazblue C-series and the most iconic character to come out of the franchise. While he might be modeled after the traditional Japanese manga or anime hero, his abrasive and sardonic personality sets him apart from your average fighting game protagonist, if his unique abilities weren't enough of a departure from normalcy. Ragna's aggressive side is also seen through his fighting style, which is reflected in his gameplay loop of getting in close and taking stray hits as far as possible once he finds an opening. At his core, Ragna is a character that has a plethora of hit confirms that could lead into mid to high damage combos, and while he might not be able to delete a character's health bar like some others might be able to, he's still a character with great payoff. These aspects are also carried over to Smash Bros. As well, as Ragna is a character who's capable of turning small hits into respectable damage, with his variety of combo routes allowing him to close out the stocks of most characters in about 3 to 4 openings. This great damage output is balanced out by the aforementioned approach options, which are far more limited when compared to his rushdown contemporaries, and they even out to create a rushdown character who will require strong fundamentals and game sense to maximize their damage output. There's a ton more that I'd love to put here, but I feel for the sake of the video's length, and for staying on topic, I think I'm going to cap the description here and say please play this series if you haven't already, because it really is that good. In terms of mobility options, Ragna has 2 jumps, all while being able to wall jump and gain access to a unique mobility tool in the form of an air dash, which will require the player to double tap the stick either forwards or backwards in the air, while Ragna has at least 1 jump remaining. When it comes to the aspects of the Blazblue series that set it apart from its contemporaries, the main one that stands out is the game's drive system, a unique mechanic that's not only integral to each character's playstyle, but is also completely unique between each character, as no two drives are the same. All characters in the game must make use of their drive system in order to be played optimally, and as he is a beginner-friendly character, it's not surprising that Ragna's drive is simple to both understand and execute, an ability that just so happens to also serve as part of his character mechanic here in Smash. Soul Eater. In Blazblue, Soul Eater is an ability that would allow Ragna to manipulate darkness and summon various parts of the Black Beast in order to devour his opponent's health, all while recovering his own in the process. And the more a player can utilize Soul Eater in their combos, the more healing they would get back from each successful attack. All of these aspects are being carried over to Smash as well, with this allowing Ragna to potentially mitigate his low weight value and port his advantage state if his player can maintain pressure and knows how to string their hits together. As should it be used to its full potential, Ragna can become one of the most resilient characters in the game. But while this does a lot to make Ragna feel more like his Blazblue self, to stop simply at the drive system would be doing a disservice to a series that is one of my most played fighting game franchises of all time. A franchise that's one of the few I've played at a serious competitive level, and one that made up a majority of my time going to locals and making friends in the FGC. No, if I'm going to bring Blazblue to Smash, I'm bringing everything necessary to make Ragna truly feel like a character representing his home series. It's time to introduce the rest of Ragna's character mechanic, an intricate character system that will bring all of Blazblue's standout features together and turn Ragna into a one-of-a-kind character, the Heat System and the Burst System. Starting with the Heat System, this can essentially be described as Blazblue's version of the super meter commonly seen in traditional fighting games, with this allowing the player to gain access to some of their character's most powerful abilities in exchange for a set amount of heat per attack. In terms of design, the player will be able to fill this meter by both dealing damage and taking damage, with damage dealt filling the bar far faster than damage taken. And once Ragna's player manages to accumulate a total of 50 heat, the meter will change color to signify that the player now has access to one of their heat exclusive attacks. But what exactly does heat give you access to? Well, anyone familiar with your average fighting game more than likely knows at least one of said options. Let's talk about distortion drives and rapid cancels. Much like how Heat is Blazblue's version of your average fighting game's resource system, distortion drives are Blazblue's title for super attacks, with these big flashy moves spoiling large amounts of damage or some sort of extra property, such as invincibility, or giving the character that uses it a boost of some sort. As for how this will work in Smash, Ragna will gain access to his most iconic distortion drive, Carnage Scissors, once the player inputs half circle back plus forward plus attack, and has at least 50% heat available. And much like in Blazblue, it's a powerful combo attack that can be used to effectively close out stocks if the move connects with higher percents. Also, if the player knows the ins and outs of Ragna's combo strings and has quick fingers, they'll be able to combo into this attack much like they can in Blazblue. Which is good, as the attack sports a couple of downsides that will encourage Ragna's player to do so. For starters, distortion drives in Blazblue sport what is known as a Super Flash, which is a brief moment before the attack begins that acts as sort of a buffer window, as should an opponent be in a neutral state while the attack starts, they can input a button to interrupt the distortion drive before it can connect. As a result, it's very unsafe to throw this move out in the neutral, and it's no different here in Smash. On top of this, should Ragna's player choose to make use of Carnage Scissors, they will enter what's known as a heat cooldown state, with this brief 3-second state preventing Ragna from being able to accumulate any heat from his attacks. This aspect of distortion drives adds more to their risk versus reward factor, all while balancing out the amount of heat that players can gain from combos, as it's more than possible for most characters to continue combos after a distortion drive. Moving on to rapid cancels, this ability can be considered Blazblue's answer to Guilty Gear's Roman cancel system, as once the player inputs the 3 main attack buttons while an attack is making contact with an opponent, be it a successful hit or on block, they'll be able to immediately cancel the active frames of their attack and return to a neutral state. Here in Smash, this ability will sport the same aspects as it does in Blazblue, as once the player inputs Shield Special during an active hit, Ragna will immediately cancel the active frames of his current move and allow his player to immediately follow up with another attack. While that's the case, however, it should be noted that rapid cancels will only work if the move you're attempting to cancel is making active contact with an opponent, as any attempt to use this ability off of a whiff will not work. Overall, this ability can allow players to perform strings that aren't normally possible, or make normally unsafe attacks next to impossible to punish. But the fact that each use of RC requires 50% of your character's heat gauge means that it's a serious commitment to make. One is safer, but requires a much higher skill floor to use effectively, while the other can lead to a bigger payoff right away, but requires proper positioning, timing, and combo knowledge to make the most of. Whatever option you pick, just make sure you're using your heat properly and not rushing in without a plan, as Ragna's stale neutral will definitely force his players to get creative to make the most of their resources. With all aspects of the Heat system covered, it's now time to start talking about the second major character system that Ragna will be bringing along with him to Smash. And while it might not look like much, this system has the potential to have an even bigger impact on Ragna's game plan if his player knows how to use it properly. The Burst System. Where the Heat system's options mostly revolve around improving a character's offense, the Burst system by comparison is a universal defensive option that will allow the player to recuperate from a bad encounter and force their opponents back into neutral through the meter's main ability, Burst. By inputting the beat button while taking damage, Ragna will unleash a massive outward blast of energy that will immediately end the active frames of the attack he's getting hit by, all while forcing his opponent back into the neutral and giving Ragna's player a chance to get back into the fight. This burst will deal no damage and sport a fixed knockback, all while also sporting complete invincibility until Ragna enters a recovery state, so it will instantly beat any attack, regardless of priority. As a result, this is one of the few attacks that can actually beat out counters, though it should be noted that moves with extremely high priority, like Little Mac's KO uppercut, will bypass the effects of burst completely. On top of that, it's best to not be too predictable with your burst in general, as opponents are capable of preemptively blocking and punishing the recovery time if they can anticipate it. Once Ragna performs burst and the active frames conclude, it will immediately go into a cooldown state. At this point, the gauge will slowly begin to recharge, and if left untouched, it will take a total of 2.5 minutes, which is an exceptionally long time for a fighting game like Smash. Thankfully, there are plenty of ways for Ragna's player to speed up the process, as any action that accumulates heat will also refill the burst gauge. Also, as an added bonus, this burst gauge will refill faster if the player performs attacks that are unsafe or scale poorly, such as smash attacks. As a result, anything that comes with a risk also comes with a sizable reward, so as long as you know how to control the chaos, don't be afraid to hit your foes where they hurt the most. But, as you might expect, there's more to the burst gauge than a simple combo breaker. If the player inputs both A and B while the burst gauge is active, they will gain access to the last of Ragna's character systems and the second half of the burst gauge's purpose in battle. While the ability to immediately cancel a combo is insanely strong, this aspect of Blazblue has become one of its biggest standout features since its introduction in Chrono Phantasma, and if used effectively, it can make Ragna a true force to be reckoned with. Overdrive. Where the heat gauge is the source of a character's major damage options, Overdrive takes the best aspects of the character and makes them even better, as once activated, the character's drive will be enhanced in a unique manner, as the more complicated the drive, the more intricate the buff. Ragna, however, sports one of the game's simplest drives, and in turn, one of the simplest buffs, with this enhancing his life-stealing abilities by a notable margin. This will allow Ragna's player to potentially come back from the brink of death and hold out just long enough to end the fight on a high note. And as an added bonus, Overdrive won't only affect Ragna's drive, but also his distortion drives as well, as the damage and healing of Carnage Scissors will be improved drastically. Once Overdrive becomes active, the gauge drive will open to reveal a timer that will quickly begin to count down, and once the timer hits 0, the effects of Overdrive will immediately conclude. This timer is affected by the current percent value of the player. For the higher a player's percent value, the longer Overdrive will stay active. In total, Overdrive will only stay active for a total of 4 seconds if it's activated at 0% damage, with the timer's limit maxing out at 8 seconds once the player passes the 100% damage threshold. And to ensure that the player has a chance to make use of this buff, the startup of Overdrive is completely invulnerable, making it a very potent reversal option. Also, it should be noted that the player is capable of canceling into Overdrive from a combo, but doing so will cut the active time of your Overdrive in half, so doing so too early into a stock might be a bad idea. Finally, to round out the effects of Overdrive, the player has access to one final ability that, while powerful when used properly, will immediately bring the effects of Overdrive to a close. Exceed Excel. A powerful cinematic super that costs no resources, Exceed Excel is one of the main ways that a player can cash out on the boons of Overdrive, or bring an Overdrive combo to an end. And for Ragna, his Exceed Excel is known as Seed of Tartarus. This powerful head splitter combo will hit with some serious force, and if used during a combo, this move's startup will be halved, making it easier to land in exchange for less overall damage. But while that's the case, it should be noted that Exceed Excels do sport some notable drawbacks. While the cost of no resources is amazing, ending the effects of Overdrive too early can result in the player missing out on some serious damage. And much like distortion drives, an Exceed Excel is very unsafe on block, so it's best to lean into this move from a combo instead of throwing it out in the neutral. Once Overdrive comes to an end, either naturally or through Exceed Excel, the player will gain a 30% refund to their burst gauge and have their shields fully replenished. with the latter referencing the way that overdrive regenerates barrier in Blazblue, so even if you don't get to make the most of your current overdrive, it's more than possible to get another overdrive going in the same stock, which is good, as the burst gauge's status will carry over between stocks. This means that, if the player either bursts or uses overdrive near the end of their current stock, they'll be going into their next stock without an active burst gauge. As a result, making use of overdrive and burst is a highly committal pair of options that Ragna's player will need to make use of very carefully, and learning to properly use this ability and not be too predictable will be one of the biggest hurdles for a Ragna player to overcome while learning this fighter. All of this comes together to make up the basics of Ragna as a fighter, an aggressive character who, while fairly basic at his core, is given an exceptional amount of depth thanks to his additional character systems and raw potential as a fighter. And now that you've come to understand all you need to know about the Grim Reaper's strengths, let's now move on to Ragna's normals and discuss the attacks that will pave the way to your opponent's destruction. Ragna's normals are comprised of the various attacks that he has been able to perform throughout the Blazblue series, with most of his attack stats coming from his Central Fiction iteration. As Blazblue is a 4-button game, Ragna's attack style will be similar to that of Terry, in that there's only one level of strength for each input, so you don't need to worry about potential misinputs. While this might result in slower than average normals for a fighting game character, the overall range of Ragna's attacks will more than make up for this aspect, so don't be afraid to poke and pressure your opponents from afar. Ragna's neutral combo is his standard ABC combo from Blazblue, a simple 1-2-3 combination that will have Ragna attack in front of himself with a straight punch, all before quickly following up with a straight kick, then ending the combo with a vertical slash from his blade. In terms of design, this combo's main purpose is to be used as filler during Ragna's main combo strings, with its speed allowing the player to stuff buttons at close range before buffering into one of his special moves, or rapid cancelling into one of his other normals to keep the combo going. As for the attacks in the combo themselves, all three of them are special and RC cancelable on hit, but it should be noted that only the final hit sports a disjoint, meaning that the combo itself can potentially be beaten out by opponents if you space the move poorly. Ragna's forward tilt is his forward standing heavy, a large 2-hit attack that will have Ragna thrust his blade forward, all before shifting his momentum to perform an upward slice, launching the caught foe up and away on hit. While a surprisingly slow tilt for a rushdown character, this attack's large disjoint hitbox allows Ragna to safely check foes from mid-range and cover both the horizontal and vertical area as he attacks. And as an added bonus, this move can be jump cancelled on either hit or block, allowing Ragna's player to either immediately pursue his foe for more damage, or even make the move safe against the majority of the cast. Ragna's up tilt is his forward standing light, an unorthodox but versatile attack that will have Ragna perform a rising punch, launching foes up into the air on hit. In terms of design, this uppercut sports some polarizing stats, as while its startup is not only solid, but also sports upper body invulnerability, its range is fairly short. So while it might work as a solid anti-air and a great way to start combos, it's going to require Ragna to get in close to his opponent in order to make the attack work. Also, while its poor horizontal range will force Ragna to get in close in order to get something going, its weak vertical range also results in Ragna being unable to punish foes trying to guard platforms or camp above him, meaning he'll either need to rely on the second hit of his forward tilt to check his foes, or jump in on them, with both options having their own risks that can be exploited by a player that knows the matchup. Ragna's down tilt is his crouching heavy, a very useful button that will have Ragna perform a wide-hitting horizontal slash at Aramasa, knocking foes back on hit with solid force. One of Ragna's strongest buttons in Blazblue, this attack sports both some solid range and recovery speed, allowing Ragna's player to simply check foes from mid-range and maintain pressure. And thanks to its ability to immediately cancel into any of Ragna's specials, this move is one you're going to want to learn how to use if you wish to master Ragna. Also, as an added bonus, this attack will sport two different launch directions depending on what part of the attack lands, with blows closer to Ragna launching up and away, while attacks near the tip will launch more horizontally. But regardless of which side the blade lands, they both have a plethora of follow-up options. Ragna's dash attack is Nightmare Rush, a simple yet powerful attack that will have Ragna rush forward, all while attacking in front of himself with a wide-hitting horizontal slash. A brand new attack that's exclusive to Smash, Nightmare Rush will sport both above average range and damage, allowing Ragna to punish foes from afar and reliably stuff gallops thanks to its large disjoint. While that's the case, however, this attack's slow recovery speed can make it quite easy to punish if Ragna's player doesn't have RC ready to go, but if you end up whiffing, there's little that can save you if you're caught out of position. For his get-up attacks, Ragna will attack around himself with either a spinning kick or a spinning slash from Aramasa, all while attacking with a sweeping slash for his ledge attack. For his smash attacks, Ragna will move away from his regular buttons and instead start making use of his character mechanic, as all 3 of Ragna's smash attacks are based on the 3 standard drive buttons that he sports in the Blazblue series. These attacks, while sporting some solid range and above average damage, will also sport the aforementioned ability to heal Ragna for a percent of the damage dealt, and when mixed with aspects like overdrive and rapid cancelling, what might seem like unsafe moves can be one of Ragna's quickest ways to either even the playing field or run away with a stock altogether. Ragna's forward smash is his standing drive attack, a massive multi-hit move that will have Ragna perform an upward swing with his sword, knocking foes off the floor before immediately transitioning into a massive helm splitter, launching anything in his path with some serious force. In terms of design, this attack sports both big damage and some solid range, and should an opponent be caught by the first slash, they are almost guaranteed to be locked into the launching blow, as it will vortex the foe towards Ragna on hit, and after the second hit connects, Ragna will be healed for 20% of the damage dealt. But all of this only matters if you choose to commit to the second strike. You see, should the player input a special attack during the active frames of the first hit, Ragna will be able to cancel the attack and immediately follow up with a special move, allowing the Grim Reaper to turn straight hits into serious pressure without having to rely on RC. And as an added bonus, this is the first of Ragna's attacks to feature one of his exclusive movement mechanics, the Command Dash. By double tapping forward on the control stick, Ragna will be able to cancel the ending frames of certain attacks and enter a unique run animation, with this having him travel a set distance at a much quicker speed than his regular run. This mechanic, when used properly, is an important part of Ragna's pressure and combo game, thanks especially to its near unreactable startup speed. But, as you might expect, there are a couple of things that will balance this tool out. First off, Ragna's command dash is locked to only 2 attacks when out of overdrive, and thanks to the design of the dash, Ragna will be unable to do anything until the run comes to an end, meaning there are instances where attempting to mindlessly rush forward during an offensive push will get you seriously punished. Once overdrive is activated, several other attacks will gain access to this ability, including the aforementioned forward smash, and unlike Ragna's other major abilities, command dash can be used to have a whiff. So purposely whiffing a smash attack might be a great way to start a combo, if you condition your foe correctly. Ragna's up smash is his forward standing drive attack, a wide-hitting anti-air option that will have Ragna perform a hop slash, his shoulder acting as support for Aramasa as he swings up and over his head to launch foes away. A rather unorthodox move compared to his other options, this huge single-hit move will push Ragna off the ground as he attacks, allowing him to potentially bypass incoming lows thanks to his feet sporting invulnerability. On top of that, Ragna will be healed for 20% of the damage dealt by this move on hit, much like the second hit of his forward smash, and when in overdrive, this healing effect will be up to 35%, all while the move gains both more damage and a larger hitbox. Overall, this attack is Ragna's best way to punish foes above him, thanks especially to the attack angle and how well it protects Ragna's head, but it should be noted that there are a couple of aspects that will make it risky to use in a neutral setting. While the hitbox of this move is large, it will only hit in front of and above Ragna, leaving him wide open if his foe can get behind him, and with a fairly slow recovery speed, this attack is notably risky to perform if the player doesn't have the heat to RC and make the move safe on block. This, along with the fact that it's the only one of Ragna's smash attacks that can't benefit from command dash, makes it the worst of Ragna's smash attacks overall, and in turn, it should be used sparingly. Finally, Ragna's down smash is his crouching drive attack, a large, versatile attack option that will have Ragna drive the tip of Aramasa into the ground in front of him, the destructive power of the Black Beast spreading out on impact and launching away anything in its path with some heavy force. While Ragna's forward smash sports the highest overall damage and a plethora of follow-up options, this attack sports both the longest range and the highest utility, as while it will only cover one side, the attack's properties will change depending on whether Ragna's foe is on the ground or in the air. If they're on the ground, foes struck by this attack will be launched horizontally, and thanks to its low launch angle, properly spacing this move can make it one of Ragna's best ways of punishing a foe that's trying to get off the ledge. If they're in the air, however, the impact of this move will drag them down, causing them to be spiked into the floor or the abyss below. Because of this, Ragna's edgeguard game is notably strong, and as a result, burning your resources to force your opponent offstage early can potentially lead to stocks being lost. Although it should be noted that the spike power of this move is only moderate at best outside of overdrive. Once overdrive becomes active, this move will gain both the increased damage and healing bonus of Ragna's other smash attacks, but unlike its contemporaries, the knockback properties will be changed completely. If this move manages to make contact with a grounded opponent, it won't actually knock them back at all, but instead force them into a hard knockdown state. All of the spike effects on airborne opponents will be increased drastically. This, when mixed with the ability to command dash off of either hit or whiff, makes it one of Ragna's scariest neutral tools. And while it might seem quite powerful in a vacuum, the fact that the player must make use of major resources to make the most of it balances out its inherent strengths, especially when Ragna's player has a very limited time to make use of it. In much the same vein as his grounded normals, almost all of Ragna's aerial attacks are based on the various aerials that he can perform in the Blazblue series. While he's generally considered to be a more grounded fighter, these attacks, when mixed with aspects like air dash, will allow Ragna to continue combos, close out stocks, and add an air of unpredictability to a fairly straightforward fighter. Starting with his neutral air, Ragna actually ends up sporting two different attacks for this slot, with the one you get depending on whether you simply tap or hold the attack button. And while they're both fairly different from one another, they're both designed to get combos going or help Ragna land. These attacks are his jumping light and jumping medium from Blazblue, and learning how to use both options will be very important to maintaining Ragna's combos and for both ground to air and air to air conversions. Starting with his jumping light, this simple yet quick attack will have Ragna perform a jab punch in midair, and thanks to its very fast recovery speed, Ragna can perform this move multiple times in a single jump. While this attack's range leaves a lot to be desired, it more than makes up for its shortcomings thanks to the fact it's infinitely self-cancelable, allowing Ragna's player to lock foes either in hit or in block as he tries to land, all before immediately following up with another attack option to mix up his foes and potentially continue or get a combo going. As for his jumping medium, this long-lasting sex kick will sport a large active hitbox, allowing Ragna to cross up foes and potentially start combos, as the attack will always send the foe flying in the direction that Ragna is facing. Thanks to this, Ragna's player is capable of using this tool to get grounded combos going and punish moves with short active hitboxes. And even if the opponent blocks the attack, Ragna is capable of jump canceling after this move, allowing him to either continue a combo or jump out of danger, although the latter will only work if your opponent doesn't try to pursue you. Ragna's forward air is his jumping heavy, a powerful approach option that will have Ragna perform a horizontal slash with his sword, the blade of Aramasa covering both above and below him as he slashes and launching foes away on hit. This attack sports a massive disjointed hitbox, allowing Ragna to effectively win trades and push his way through his opponent's defenses, either by force or by crossing them up with the unexpected vertical range of the slash. And like his standing medium, Ragna is capable of jump canceling this move on both hit and block. You're more than likely going to be meeting your foes on the ground than in the air, but if you're looking for a tool to help you approach or mix up your offense, you'd be hard pressed to find a better option than this move. Ragna's up air is his jumping drive, a unique aerial attack that will have Ragna perform an upward slash with Aramasa, the blade of the sword coated in the energy of the Black Beast as it cleaves through anything in its path and launches them up into the air. As a move attached to Ragna's drive, this move will sport the ability to heal for 15% of the damage it deals, with this going up to 25% while in overdrive. And in terms of Ragna's game plan, this attack is mainly designed for air-to-air conversions and leading into one of Ragna's main stock closers. While that's the case, however, this move's startup speed is rather slow, so it's best to use this move in the middle of a combo as opposed to on its own in the neutral, especially if you don't have the heat to RC out of a bad situation. Ragna's back air is Grim Splitter, a powerful reversal option that will have Ragna spin around in midair, all before slashing up behind himself with the darkness-coated blade of Aramasa. Another attack improvised for Smash, this move is similar in structure to his jumping heavy, with the only major difference between them being the fact that this move sports slightly higher damage and range in exchange for being slightly slower, and in terms of purpose, this move is designed to be Ragna's main aerial kill confirm and edge guarding option. While it might be a bit slow, this attack's large disjoint hitbox makes it difficult to trade with if Ragna's player knows how to time this attack correctly, but poor spacing with a lack of resources can potentially lead to some serious punishment, so be careful. Finally, Ragna's down air is Nightmare Edge, a unique yet destructive attack that will have Ragna cloak the blade of Aramasa in darkness, all before falling through the air at incredible speed and dragging down anything that gets in his way. A new special move introduced in Central Fiction, this rabbit-hitting fastfall attack is one of Ragna's best ways to close out a combo or force a neutral reset. And while it naturally sports a lot of the same weaknesses as the majority of the other fastfall aerials in Smash, Ragna's access to RC makes it very difficult to react to when its player has the resources available. On top of this, Nightmare Edge also sports an additional attack if the player presses the B button once they hit the floor, with this causing Ragna to launch foes away with one final slash and heal for 15% of the damage dealt. This makes jumping in on Ragna a very dangerous affair, as unless you have the speed to avoid both the falling slash and the follow-up attack, it's best to not challenge Ragna when he's directly above you, and that goes double for if he has all his resources on hand. Ragna will grab his foe with one arm, pulling them in close before he delivers a knee strike from his pummel. Like in Blazblue, Ragna's grab range is notably short, with this forcing him to put himself at risk and getting close to his foes in order to snag them in his grasp. Fortunately, Ragna's throws all sport some notable yet very precise combo routes that more than make up for the inherent grab risk, and with the ability to cancel the end leg with both RC and overdrive, it's more than possible for Ragna to turn a throw into a potential kill confirm at high to mid % against the majority of the cast. But before we get into Ragna's standard throws, there's one extra aspect of Ragna's grab that I want to discuss, as while the risk versus reward of his short grab range is an aspect that players will want to learn in order to truly master the Grim Reaper, Ragna actually ends up sporing a second type of grab that, when used effectively, can open up combo routes that aren't normally possible, and its name is Not Over Yet. If Ragna manages to catch his foes on the ground, or jab locking them in place, the player is capable of inputting down, down, and grab in order to have Ragna reach down and pick his foe off the floor, and after briefly taunting them, he'll send them flying away with a powerful straight punch. A staple of Ragna's kit since its inception in Calamity Trigger, this restanding attack will allow Ragna's player to either get a combo going or potentially close out a stock, as this attack sports two different launch strengths, with the form you get depending on whether you tap or hold the grab button. In comparison, the weaker version of Not Over Yet is comparable to its appearance in earlier Blazblue titles, where it would simply push your opponent back a small distance and leave them wide open to more damage, while the stronger version is closer to its current day appearance in Central Fiction, with the launch power of this attack being strong enough to force most characters off stage from mid-screen at about 70 to 80%. Thanks to this, forcing a knockdown with moves like Overdrive Down Smash can be fatal later into your opponent's stock, but it should be known that the window for this throw is very precise. So precise, in fact, they can easily whiff against most characters unless you're right on top of them, so you're going to need to act quick if you want to make the most of this dangerous combo option. Moving back to Ragna's regular throws, these aforementioned options are designed to reset pressure and potentially force opponents out of their defensive shells, as Ragna's general lack of mix-up potential might force his players to rely on these strong yet risky tools. Regardless, they all have the potential to work until high into your opponent's percent, so if you think the risk is worth the reward, go for broke and make it count. Ragna's forward throw is his standard air grab from Blazblue, a quick yet powerful blow that will have Ragna leap up, all before striking his foe in the face with an advancing knee strike. In terms of design, this throw sports an above average knockback growth and damage output, allowing Ragna's player to throw his foes off stage or potentially force a frame trap at lower percents. But while strong in certain situations, it ends up having the strictest combo routes. This means that you've got to follow up this move with specific moves within very small frame windows, and as a result, it might be better to go with a throw with more room for error. Ragna's up throw is a standard forward throw from Blazblue, a powerful yet versatile throw option that will have Ragna pick his opponent up off the ground, all before piercing them with the tip of Aramasa and launching them up into the air. Thanks to its low knockback growth, this throw's main strengths lie in its ability to serve as a combo starter, as Ragna is not only capable of following up this move with various normals and specials, but is also capable of jump canceling this attack, which can lead to air combos at low to mid percents. At higher percents, it's still possible to follow up this throw with moves like Gauntlet Hades, but the combo window will be much smaller, so act quickly. Ragna's back throw is a standard back throw from Blazblue, another highly versatile throw option that will have Ragna drag his opponent across the floor, all before tossing them up into the air behind himself. Much like his up throw, this option is mainly designed to reset pressure and get combos going, with it not only spoiling a variety of follow-up options, but is also jump cancelable. But unlike its contemporaries, this throw's combo window and follow-up options are both larger and easier to execute. As a result, this throw is going to be one of the go-to options that Ragna players are going to want to use when they land a grab, but it should be noted that this throw's follow-up options are cut down drastically if you don't have at least half the stage behind you, so make sure you mind your positioning. Finally, Ragna's down throw is Grim Fate, a unique throw option that will have Ragna perform an overhead axe kick, all before stabbing them through with Aramasa and causing them to bounce off the ground. A brand new throw option created just for Smash, this option is designed to be a beginner-friendly combo starter that doesn't require a jump or dash cancel in order to make the most of its potential damage, with it, in turn, spoiling the lowest amount of potential combo routes to compensate. Still, good damage is good damage, and if you don't want to risk messing up a micro dash, this is always a great alternative. now time to start talking about Ragna's specials. And much like the other fighting game characters that have made into Smash before him, Ragna's options will make reference to the various special moves that he can perform in his home franchise. In terms of structure, Ragna will sport a total of 5 special buttons, much like Terry does, all while having access to extra special moves in the form of Burst, Overdrive, and Exceed Excel. And as an added bonus, all but one of Ragna's specials will sport follow-up attacks that can be input by pressing the B button on either hit or block, much like he does after Nightmare Edge. Starting with the neutral special, Ragna will make use of a unique projectile option that, while it might feel a bit detached from the rest of his kit, has the potential to set up 50-50s and reset pressure thanks to its high hit stun and large hitbox, Dead Spike. With this, Ragna will drive the tip of his blade into the ground, all before dragging it forward and launching a grounded projectile, the black mass taking on the appearance of a beast with sharp fangs as it travels across the stage and into the closest opponent. In terms of design, this beefy projectile sports both a large hitbox and high hit stun, making it very difficult to punish on block and fairly strong on hit, all while covering roughly 60% of your average stage's length before disappearing. Foes hit by this projectile will be launched with heavy force, all while Ragna gets healed for 15% of the damage it deals. But while its priority is notably high, the overall slow speed of this move, both on startup and the general speed of the projectile, make it unsuitable for zoning and fairly easy to disrespect. As a result, it's best to not autopilot into this move from your normals, as unless you're at point blank range, you're more than likely going to end up whipping a follow-up. Overall, this projectile can be a rewarding way for Ragna's player to reset pressure if they manage to catch poor spacing or successfully tech chase, and while generally unsafe on its own, the ability to not only cancel via RC, but also dash cancel to continue pressure can make this situationally terrifying, and while it's a grounded projectile, it can indeed be used in the air. In comparison, the aerial version of Dead Spike will sport slightly faster startup and higher hit stun, but notably worse range, with its appearance being taken from Dead Spike's original design in both Calamity Trigger and Continuum Shift. Jumping Dead Spike also helps Ragna deal with some of the weaknesses of grounded Dead Spike, such as being vulnerable to aerial approaches. But while both options have their own purpose in combat, it's possible to make them even stronger once Overdrive becomes active. Once activated, Dead Spike will change from a single hit projectile into a deadly multi-hit attack, with this granting Ragna's player much greater frame advantage and combo utility than they'd get off of regular Dead Spike. On top of this, the hitbox and range of this move will be increased by roughly 30%, with this allowing Ragna to cover almost the entire length of your average competitive stage, all while the aerial version gains a larger vertical hitbox and becomes next to impossible to trade with from above. Moving on to his side special, Ragna will make use of a highly versatile attack option that will not only help him continue or start combos, but also be one of his most reliable ways of dealing with his lackluster approach. A tool that's got use for just about anything the player would need out of Ragna's kit, Hell's Fang. With this, Ragna will reel back before performing an advancing punch, his fist cloaked in darkness as he drives it into the face of his closest opponent. In terms of stats, this punch sports a decent startup speed and covers roughly half the screen, but while its damage might be only okay at best, its recovery is incredibly fast, as recovery begins the moment Ragna's fist makes contact with an opponent. As a result, it's possible to make this move safe on block, and in turn, it's one of Ragna's easiest approach tools, and a burst option that your opponent is going to need to be prepared for at all times, and not just for the punch. If the player presses the B button again after making contact with the punch, Ragna will perform Hellfang's follow-up attack, with this having Ragna use his other arm to launch a massive darkness forward, damaging foes on hit, and healing Ragna for 50% of the damage it deals. Much like in Blazblue, this attack is one of the best ways that Ragna's player can end a grounded combo and heal for a portion of the damage he's been dealt. And as an added bonus, this attack sports a 200% heat gain effect, which makes its slow recovery more than worth the risk. But, with RC in hand, there is no risk, only more potential for greater rewards. As for potential follow-up options, both Hell's Fang and its follow-up attacks can lead into combos via RC, with Hell's Fang itself leading into more damage, while the follow-up attack sports more follow-up options, although it will require the player to microdash to get the most out of each option. If you're looking for something with even more impact, maybe the Overdrive version of this move is what you're looking for. While Hell's Fang itself is not enhanced by Overdrive, its follow-up attack is, with this move not only gaining the damage and healing bonus of moves like Dead Spike, but also gaining much longer hit stop, making it much easier to follow up with moves like up or forward tilt. All of this comes together to create a move that's one of Ragna's best specials overall, and that goes double for when Ragna has access to either Heat or Overdrive. But it should be noted that while hard to react to at either close or mid-range, Hell's Fang doesn't sport any sort of disjoint, meaning it can potentially be stuffed by jabs or large disjoint strikes if your opponent can correctly predict this attack. As a result, it's best to not rely on this move too much and learn the ins and outs of Ragna's other approach options, as a one-trick pony can only go so far. Next is Ragna's back special, and similar to the back special of Terry, this attack is a well-rounded option that can be used as anything from a combo option to a stock closer, but its strength is only really brought out when used in tandem with other attacks in Ragna's kit, as it might seem rather lackluster when used on its own. Gauntlet Hades. With this, Ragna will perform a large overhead swipe with his arm, large swaths of darkness falling behind him as he travels in an arc and deals damage to any opponent in his path. Where Hell's Fang is fast, aggressive, and has a ton of potential follow-ups, Gauntlet Hades is slow, awkward, and only sports one potential follow-up attack. As while Ragna can cancel into this move from his normals, it will rarely land before his opponent can recover. By this description, it might seem like Gauntlet Hades isn't worth the effort to use, but that couldn't be further from the truth. You see, Gauntlet Hades on its own is a reckless option with heavy shield pressure, but if used to follow up moves like his throws, it can potentially help Ragna perform combos that Hell's Fang can't produce. That, and Gauntlet Hades actually ends up sporing a much shorter startup when used in midair, allowing Ragna to chase foes out of moves like his forward or neutral air and drag his foes further off stage. This aspect becomes even more powerful when you take Ragna's air dash into account, as an instant air dash forward air is the safest way to lay into this move. But much like Hell's Fang, Gauntlet Hades is but one half of the whole attack, as should the player input the B button again, Ragna will perform the move's follow-up attack, Spin Kick. This launcher is designed almost purely for combo extension, with its fixed knockback growth, allowing Ragna to chase foes with either aerials or a grounded tilt, depending on how close he is to the ground. On top of that, this move sports the same heavy hit stun of Dead Spike, meaning it's a move that's safe on block. But even then, it's best not to use this move in a block string, as it will whiff against most crouching characters. As for its overdrive iteration, Spin Kick will gain the same boons as Ragna's other specials, all while gaining an increased launch height that will make it much easier to set up combos. But while increased damage and healing is always nice, they pale in comparison to the fact that Ragna is now capable of performing a jump cancel out of this attack. This allows Ragna to greatly increase his corner carry and open up one of his safest kill routes. So once overdrive starts, finding a way to get off a safe Gauntlet Hades will be one of the first things you should do as a Ragna player. Just make sure you practice this combo route, however, as while it's very effective, it's definitely one of the hardest strings that you're going to have to learn. Moving on to his recovery special, Ragna will make use of what's arguably his most iconic special move, a multi-form attack that serves as not only one of Ragna's safest stock closers, but also one of his best ways of escaping pressure and forcing his foes to retreat and restart neutral. Get caught by this, and your fate is entirely dependent on how well Ragna's player can lead into more damage. Inferno Divider. With this, Ragna will perform a rising slash with Aramasa, the blade of the sword extended behind him as he launches up into the air and takes any opponent along for the ride. In terms of design, Inferno Divider has all the stats to be one of the strongest tools in Ragna's kit, as not only does this move sport great damage and solid range, but it also ends up sporting complete invulnerability on startup, making it one of the best ways for Ragna to exploit weaknesses in his opponent's pressure, safely anti-air opponents either approaching or camping above him, or attacking out of shield. This takes Ragna from a character who's fairly safe to pressure without resources, to a character that's unsafe to pressure for too long whatsoever. But while strong when you have the upper hand, Inferno Divider's recovery speed makes it highly punishable on both block and whiff. So it's best to stick to using it when you either know it'll work, or have the resources available for a rapid cancel. When it comes to its follow-up options, Inferno Divider not only sports a total of 2 different follow-up routes, but also 2 unique attack styles. As should the player input DP plus an attack button, Ragna will unleash a far more powerful version of Inferno Divider. His blade cloaked in blood and darkness, as he covers a much greater vertical range and deals a lot more damage to anything in his path. This can seem incredibly enticing, especially since it sports a much faster startup than the regular version of Inferno Divider. But despite the extra range and damage, there's one aspect that the original move has that this move lacks: invulnerability on startup. As a result, what seems like a far more powerful option is actually far more risky and generally easier to punish. But if the range is enough to save you from plummeting to your death, sometimes the risk is worth the reward. As for the follow-ups to Inferno Divider itself, both paths feature a bridge then a finisher, with the bridge between both combos being the same, while the finisher performed is dependent on what button the player inputs. If the player inputs the A button after the uppercut bridge, Ragna will finish this combo by sending foes flying away with a straight punch, and should the player input the B button instead, he will instead follow up with a powerful axe kick, launching the struck opponent back down towards the floor and into a hard knockdown state. Both of these combos have the potential to either close out or reset a combo, with Straight Punch serving as a reliable kill confirm, while Axe Kick instead allows Ragna to continue pressure and tech chase his foes as one of his many amazing Okizeme options. And as an added bonus, Axe Kick is the only move associated with Infernal Divider that is affected by Overdrive. Once activated, Axe Kick will go from a knockdown tool to that of a combo extension, as foes hit by this move will be bounced off the floor and left open to further follow-ups from Ragna. Though it should be noted that if done too high in the air, Ragna might not be able to land in time to continue the combo, so it's best to use this tool off of regular Infernal Divider, thanks in part to its reduced vertical range. Finally, for his down special, Ragna will make use of a massive yet somewhat clunky advancing option to either catch an opponent trying to jump, or as a way to bait out a counterattack from those expecting either Hell's Fang or Gauntlet Hades. Learn how to use this move well, and your opponent will fear the thought of ever trying to jump at you. Blood Scythe. With this, Ragna will open up Aramasa as he leaps through the air, the blade producing a blood-red scythe head and attacking in a massive arc, cleaving through anything foolish enough to be in the move's path. With a huge hitbox, devastating fallout potential, and the ability to be safe on block, Bloodsight's great stats are offset by the fact that it sports the slowest startup out of all of Ragna's attacks. Meaning that, unless you already have hit advantage or your opponent is on the offensive, throwing out this move randomly in neutral is a horrible idea for your longevity. Thankfully, it is an attack that can be comboed into, either off of throws or moves such as forward tilt at low to mid percents. But thanks to Smash's unique gameplay loop, this move actually ends up shining the brightest when Ragna is on edgeguard duty, for the massive hitbox of Blood Scythe is large enough to cover almost any gut-up option if timed properly. And don't think you can wait at the ledge either, as a low jumping Blood Scythe has the potential to strike below the ledge and 2-frame almost any recovery in the game. As a matter of fact, the jumping version of Blood Scythe is fairly different from its grounded counterpart, as on top of covering more horizontal range, the startup of this move will be greatly reduced, making it hard to react to from mid-screen and generally stronger at Oki and punishing mistakes. But all of this comes at the cost of being notably worse on block and being generally less rewarding on hit, as grounded Blood Scythe spikes while aerial Blood Scythe launches horizontally. As for its overdrive iteration, both versions of Blood Scythe will now bounce the opponent on hit, with this allowing Ragna to follow up combos in much the same manner as Gauntlet Hades. This is especially apparent off of Blood Scythe's grounded version, with its bounds being more than large enough for Ragna to follow up with a large majority of his kit, though it should be noted that you're still going to need to either lead or combo into this move, as it does not gain any sort of speed buff during overdrive. Next is the final smash, and for this, Ragna will be making use of a staple of the Blazblue series to wipe away anything in his path in a wave of blood and darkness. And while it might be able to only hit one opponent at a time, there will be nothing left once the Grim Reaper comes calling. This is Astral Heat Black Onslaught. To start the final smash, Ragna will attack in front of himself with a rising uppercut from his sword, with this slash being completely invulnerable on startup and serving as a bridge to the cinematic beatdown should it manage to connect. At this point, the area around Ragna and his foe will go black as he opens up Aramasa into its scythe form, all before unleashing a rapid series of slashes that will hack away at his opponent's soul. With one final soul-devouring attack, Ragna will run Aramasa through the blackened husk of what was once his opponent, ending the final smash as their bodies crumple away into dust and Ragna returns to his idle animation. This attack, much like the Astral Heats of Blazblue, will serve as an instant kill against any opponent unlucky enough to be caught by it, but as previously mentioned, only one opponent can be hit by this attack at a time. Mix that in with some notably poor range on the initial attack, and it might be considered a final smash that's difficult to land. That is, of course, if you don't combo into it. Yes, just like in Blazblue, Ragna can cancel into this move from a variety of his buttons. So once Ragna gets the smash ball, it's best to keep your distance should you not want to end up getting wiped out. As just like Ragna says, there is no hell, just darkness. For his victory theme, Ragna will be making use of the Match Complete theme featured in the first 3 Blazblue titles, which is simply known as Winner. While Central Fiction would go on to have its own unique victory theme, I feel a tune used for the first 3/4 of the series' lifespan is a much better choice for representing the series as a whole. That, and I've got to rep the theme from the Blazblue game that I've played the most. Victory animation number 1 will have Ragna build up dark energy within his hand, all before flinging his arm down as he turns his back to the camera. As he does so, the darkness will form into a bird's wing that dissolves into a series of feathers, all while Ragna berates his opponent for thinking they could ever stand a chance against him. This is one of the victory animations that Ragna can perform after winning a second round in all 4 Blazblue titles. Victory animation number 2 will have Ragna stab the tip of Aramasa into the ground, all before resting his foot against the blade as he claims his foes are too weak to stand before him. This is yet another one of Ragna's round 2 victory animations, and to add on to the swap from 2D to 3D animation, Ragna will turn to scowl at the camera as his name flashes on screen. Finally, victory animation number 3 will show Ragna gripping his wrist. The seal on his hand will open up and flash his drive icon, all while his body starts to radiate dark energy. This is a reference to the opening of Blazblue Continuum Shift 2, a game that wasn't only the first Blazblue title to be featured on a Nintendo console, but also the game that most agree has the best opening in the series. While I feel that honor goes to Chrono Phantasma Extend, it's still a great opening, if only thanks to Makoto. If you know, you know. Taunt number 1 will have Ragna bring his hand up to his face, his head shaking in a disapproving manner as he asks his opponent if they're even trying. This is based on Ragna's basic taunt from the Blazblue series, and as an added bonus, it's also used for his round 1 victory animation in all 4 Blazblue titles. Taunt number 2 will have Ragna bring Aramasa off his back, all while striking a battle-ready pose with his blade in a reverse grip, and after giving his foes a few words of warning, he'll spin the blade onto his back and return to his idle animation. This is an extended reference to one of Ragna's match intro animations from the Blazblue series. Finally, Taunt number 3 will have Ragna give his foes a glimpse of his grimoire's true power, causing his arm to transform into a monstrous appendage with large, sharp claws. At this point, he'll give his foes one last chance to run away as he clenches his fist, causing his arm to return to normal before he returns to his idle animation. This unique animation is designed to show off the monstrous effects that Ragna's grimoire can inflict upon his body, and to avoid going on a half-hour tirade about Blazblue lore, let's just say that Ragna's ability to summon and control parts of the Black Beast is far more menacing than you might think. For his colors, Ragna will be making use of 8 of the many colors he has had access to over the course of the Blazblue series. While the color options of characters would change as the series went on, Ragna's options have been mostly consistent. So even though these color options are based on the ones he has in Central Fiction, a majority of these options are ones he's had since Calamity Trigger. Color number 1 is Ragna's standard appearance, featuring his iconic red coat, white hair, and black Hakama pants. As for his other options, all features on Ragna's character can potentially be changed during alternative colors, with this not only including the various buckles on his jacket, but even Aramasa and the pigmentation of his skin. Color number 2 is based on Ragna's second color option from Central Fiction, with this dyeing his jacket an ocean blue while his hair becomes a deep turquoise green. Orange highlights are also added to his shirt in Aramasa, which pop beautifully thanks to the focus on blue in his color scheme. Color number 3 is based on Ragna's third color option from Central Fiction, with this slightly darkening the color of his skin while his full ensemble takes on a green theme. With the addition of bright blonde hair, Ragna's appearance ends up looking scarily close to Palmer from Pokemon's 4th gen Battle Tower. Color number 4 is based on Ragna's 4th color option from Central Fiction, his outfit being changed to a blend of yellow and white while his hair becomes a deep brown. This color was dubbed Banana Ragna by folks in my local, and I've been calling it that ever since. Color number 5 will have Ragna take on the color scheme of his 10th color option, with this changing his entire ensemble to a blend of white and various shades of purple. Color number 6 will dye Ragna's outfit a deep gray while his hair becomes a metallic silver, referencing his 7th color scheme from Central Fiction. Color number 7 will change Ragna's outfit to a blend of white, black, and red, all while his hair and various highlights take on ice blue color. This is based on his 6th color option from Central Fiction, and as an added bonus, Aramasa will be changed to a muted orange, which contrasts quite a bit with the very bright whites in Ragna's coat. Finally, color number 8 will have Ragna take on his 9th color scheme, with this changing his ensemble to a blend of muted red, white, and gold, all while changing his hair to a dark brown and darkening the pigment of his skin. This color is a reference to the iconic protagonist of the Guilty Gear series, Soul Bad Guy, with this color scheme being based on Soul's sprite from Guilty Gear XX specifically. Blazblue is a franchise that I will always treasure, from its character designs, to its music, to the incredible amount of depth that its many characters provide. There aren't enough ways for me to gush about how much this franchise means to me. While it might have not ever reached the peaks of Guilty Gear, its dedicated fanbase saw the series through its 4 main titles until its story came to an end in 2016, and ever since then, it has been kept alive through locals and a small yet tight-knit online community. And this aspect was only strengthened when Central Fiction received its rollback netcode update a few years back. While the main local I went to closed its doors for good in 2022, I will never forget the memories that I made along the way, the people I met, the thousands of friendlies played, and many a night finished with trips to our favorite bar. And with all of this, it shouldn't be surprising that I am all for Blazblue becoming a part of Smash Bros. Although I don't know if I have much faith in it actually happening. While I've never had much of an attachment to Ragna as a character, as I spent my years either breaking down defenses with Susanoo or making people uninstall the game with Arakune, he's always had a unique feel when compared to a lot of his protagonist contemporaries. And if he brings enough of Blazblue's essential mechanics along with him, I think he can make one hell of an amazing Smash character. But considering the fact that the franchise has been out of circulation for nearly a decade, and Guilty Gear is Ark System's current focus, I don't see anything from Blazblue getting into Smash anytime soon. While that's the case, however, I do think that it would be neat that if Guilty Gear ever gets into Smash, we get some Blazblue trophies and music along with it. If only for the fact that Daisuke Ishiwatari composed music for both franchises. Regardless, I'll gladly take any sort of Blazblue content getting into Smash, and if Ragna does somehow make it into the game as a playable character, I'll be sure to give him a try. And with that, this challenger concept is complete. If you like what you saw and want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe. And to keep up to date on what's coming next, a link in the description will take you to my Discord, where you'll not only be kept up to date on upcoming content before any other platform, but also be able to partake in events like Cleared for Battle, where you can have your movesets reviewed once each month. Also, if you'd like to help support these videos, you can become a member of my channel or join my Patreon, where you'll get access to a bunch of assets before they become available to the public. Anything I receive goes straight back into making these videos better, so all support is highly appreciated. That's all from me for now, so until the next time I see you, I've been Felicia Fan, and I hope that you have a good one.